Hey guys, here for another math lesson on polygons. So I just put up here that we have our polygons, and remembering that our polygons have to have these two rules. They must be closed shape, which means our fence must be completely closed, don't want any animals escaping, and that fence must have some flat edges or sides. You can use either term. So I'm going to be using them both. You can use either or. Now we've already talked about one type of polygon, and that was the triangle. And the triangle, being a type of polygon, had to follow that it was closed and had flat edges, and it had to have three sides. I'm sorry that 3 looks so bad. Let's fix that. 3. So I had to have 1, 2, 3 sides. And remember that those corners were called a vertex, or multiple were vertices, and it should have 3 vertices and 3 sides. That's not the only type of polygon, because really polygon is an old word for many-sided shapes. So we're going to talk about different kinds of many-sided shapes. And today we are moving on to quadrilaterals. It's a big word, but you probably already right away know two very famous quadrilaterals, and that would be the rectangle and the square. And now I say two very famous quadrilaterals. My square is a little bit more rectangle, but it's more square. I say two, but really they're kind of the same thing. A square is actually known as a square rectangle because it is a rectangle with one important property. We know rectangles have 2 longer edges and 2 short edges, and those can be either way. I can have a rectangle with 2 short edges on the side and 2 longer edges on the top and bottom, or I can flip my rectangle and have my short edge on top and my long edge going on the side. I could even have a rectangle that's tilted. It doesn't matter how my rectangle is laying. What matters is that I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to switch my pen size. Sorry about that. Matters that I have 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that I have 4 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those corner pieces. And in every single one of these, I have a corner piece that is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, where my lines meet and make a corner. My square then still has those properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, except that all sides are equal. So a square and a rectangle are basically the same thing, except that a rectangle can have any kind of sides as long as 2 sides match. It'll be 2 and 2, so 2 longer sides, 2 shorter sides. As long as those match, it's a rectangle. A square rectangle just means that all sides match, but it is in the same category as a rectangle. In fact, squares are known as square rectangles. Not trying to confuse you, just trying to give you the way that we look at squares and rectangles. We look at them as completely separate shapes, but really they're more of in the same vein of being the same shape. They just have one slightly different property. Now again, I want to make sure that my quadrilaterals are following my rule up here. Are they a closed shape? Yep, all of these are closed. No animals getting out of this zoo. Do they have flat sides? As flat as I can make them without a straight edge. So, yep, they've got flat sides. They're closed in, so they count as a polygon, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 vertices, which means that they also count as a quadrilateral. Why such a big word for a rectangle? Well, there are lots of different quadrilaterals, and we'll get into that in a different video. I'll introduce the rest of the quadrilaterals, some of which you know and some which might be new to you. And you can realize that quadrilaterals can take lots of different forms as long as they have the 4 sides and the 4 vertices. Squares and rectangles are kind of in their own little category because they're easier to talk about first. They're the quadrilaterals we know. Now, quad. Just like tri, we found out, like a triceratops has 3 horns. It's an old word for 3. Well, the old word for 4, that is a tongue twister, try saying that. Old word for 4 is quad. So really, 4. We're looking at 4 sides. Triangles, we talked about, I had the special video about angles, which I noticed a few of you watched. So we talked about how we're really looking at those angle pieces. And in laterals, then we're talking about sides. 4 sides. Does it have 4 sides? Quadrilateral. Just making sure that our rectangles have 2 longer sides, 2 shorter sides, and squares are going to have as equal of sides as we can give them. And that's kind of a cool thing because then when I think about it, if I have a square and I tell you that one side is 2 inches long, if you also know it's a square, then you know that this side must be 2 inches, and this side must be 2 inches, and this side must be 2 inches. So the nice thing about having a square is that once you're given one side of a square, you know all the other sides. Wouldn't work out for a rectangle. If I told you that this side was 4 inches, you know that its matching side across from it's going to be 4 inches, but you still don't know these guys. They could be 1, 2, 3, probably won't be longer than 4 because these are the long sides. But it's different. These will match. These match, and these sides match. That's what we know for certain about rectangles, but with a square rectangle, all sides are the same. And that's pretty much it for rectangles and squares and quadrilaterals. I wanted to hit those guys first before trying to squish in the rest of our quadrilaterals. So we'll get into those next time or in my next video. All right, it's good to see you today. Have a good one.